grant from OSMB. And Lacey, are you here? I am. Yeah, Lacey can comment on the rest of the grant that we got from that.
Good morning.
Morning. Yeah, it was just,
It was a 50/50 grant. We received 800, I believe $824,000. Does that sound right? From OSMB to fund the project, and we will have to match. I'm sorry.
It's not a.
It's $427,000 in the project budget of 800.
it's our best.
Yes, our match is 400. Yes.
Thank you. Any questions of Miriam on the marina? While you're here, are we, let's see. We do the airport one first.
Yep, that's
Okay.
easy.
Lacey, thank you, Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
Telling off my glasses in the truck.
Good morning.
Morning. Again.
Again, yes. I'm going to provide an airport update for all of you. Obviously, Amy is officially on maternity, so SCAPUS Fire and Rescue Share and Care Program, which provides food, clothing, healthcare items, and toys to nearly 160 families in need, will wrap up their project on the 12th. Friday, and we'll be moving out of the Sherpa building. They are very thankful for the space we provided them at no cost. And hopefully we can do that again next year. We'll see. We had 4 staff members volunteer to pack bags: Sean, Elizabeth, Brittany, and myself. That was a fun experience. We are in the process of executing a license agreement with a company called Flight House Engineering. It will be 11 months term in the Sherpa building with the option to extend to 1 year. And as soon as we get the executed license agreement and their documentation insurance, they will be moving in. Flight House is a aviation engineering company that develops unmanned aircraft systems, designing and developing operations for UAS products over a variety of vehicle classes. And it's really exciting. They're going to be building a UAS in the hangar with payload capacity. The company, and I don't know the name of the company that they're providing this for, will be an Uber-like operation for airplanes.
Without the driver.
Without the driver.
Yeah.
January,
Flesh that out a little bit.
can I? I can, we're going to meet them again today, so I can ask more questions. And
Yeah,
I don't know, they did not tell me who their contract is with,
sure.
but they did tell me that it was an Uber-like operation for.
What does that mean?
Somebody could get on their phone, download an app, get on their phone and call a plane, a drone plane, a UAS, to pick them up from an airport and take them to another place. Or
I'm going to get on an airplane that doesn't have a pilot.
it's conceptual. It's in, yes, but it also can be used to transfer supplies.
Yeah.
Tools and supplies and food, because it has payload capacity. So I'll find out more. Each time I see them, I'll find out more.
And so the reason that they're only doing a short-term lease is
It's a project. It's a specific.
because they're not sure if they, yeah,
Correct.
gotcha.
And they only need the space to November, possibly up to 1 year, but they're hoping to be done in November with the project. So
Gotcha.
they're very nice. January 11th, I'm meeting tomorrow with Century West, our airport engineer. January 21st, I'm meeting with Transwestern for our regular scheduled meeting. And our airport advisory committee is January 29th. I have no further updates. Any questions?
Questions? Lacey?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Expect the airport liaison to take the first ride in the.
Say volunteers?
Okay, Elliot, sir. That'd be a little scary.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Going to give you a brief update on the progress made to restore service at Fort Westward since our last meeting. Next slide. So since our last slide, last update, most of the visible effort has centered at removing the submerged debris and preparing to drive pile. This photo was taken from the main dock looking towards the rail trestle, which you can see at the very end of the picture. And you may recall from prior presentations, those pads on the right there, that's where the product lines, the vapor line and the inert gas lines and some conduit were running up along the dock. They all got repositioned after the barge hit. And so as you can see, all that material has been removed and taken away. The silver pipes you see on the deck there, that's actually conduit for the new electrical system that's being installed. And that's just the pipe that they're putting in place. Next slide. So this photo was taken from pretty much the same location. I'm a little closer to the lagoon in this shot. You can see the rail trestle in the distance again. And here's some of that submerged debris we talked about last time. We're going to pull out from the river bottom for a couple of reasons. One, by our permit, we're required to do it. And also they needed to clear out space so that the spud barge could come into position to pile. The steel girders you see right in front of the orange safety blocks, I'm pretty sure those are the steel girders that were from the new piles that the port put in a couple of years that got taken down.
It looks like it.
Next slide. So again, this picture is from the main dock. Now I'm looking towards the shore side at the remains of the downstream approach. And at the bottom of the picture, you can see another section of the new piles that the port put in. You see the one pile on the far right there at the bottom that the contact with the I-beam has been lost. And really what I liked about this picture is you see more of that submerged debris that is, now you won't be surprised by my next slide. That had been pulled out of the water and put on the dock. That real big long pipe there, I'm pretty sure that's the remains of the PGE power line. And the other thing I wanted you to see in this picture is you may recall in the prior presentations on the left of the dock, there were a bunch of pipelines that were hanging. They've all been cut back and all the way to the shore. Next slide. And this is a portion of that pipe and conduit that was cut off. So that is at the the road that approaches the downstream approach from the rail line. That's where all that pipe was gathered. And it was about easily 3 truckloads of material. That makes it sound like a little more than it was because it's not an economic stow, but it was quite a volume of material. Next slide. So this picture is back on the main dock and I'm looking towards the upstream approach. This is berth 1. And really what I'm just showing here is that the work on the electrical conduit, look at all that pipe piled up as they're shaping it to put a permanent line in. So just to be clear, power was restored within a day to the dock through a temporary cable. So we've had safety lights, navigation lights in place throughout the incident. This is just to put the permanent electrical solution in. So this will be, the power is now going to go via the upstream approach in these conduits that you see there.
That's the conduit you see there?
All that pipe, all that silver pipe, yes.
What size is that?
Bigger ones for sure.
6-inch down to 2.
It looks like at least 6 inch. Holy cats.
There's some 3-phase in there, so.
Big amps?
Not huge, but I think if they probably pulling it in all together.
You probably want to be able to put it into where they have a little more room. In case you want to run the wire.
Next slide. So last Friday, first 2 spud barges arrived at Port Westward. This picture is again at the main dock. I'm standing sort of the transition between berths 1 and 2, looking into the lagoon. You see the remainder of the downstream approach behind the barge to the right. And those raised steel beams that you see, those are 2 of the 4 spuds that will be lowered into the lagoon to help position, keep the barge in its position. So the green tubes you see resting on the barge, those are the new piles for the pipe bridge. Next slide. And this was taken yesterday, and you can see the progress being made.
Wow.
4 piles were already in the ground. This picture is from the base of the downstream approach looking into the lagoon. You can see the upstream approach to the right of the barge there. And the hope is that pile work could be done by the end of the week, maybe early next week. There's 12 being sunk into the lagoon and then 2 more on the shore side.
The neighbors have said they have not heard a sound, so
That's good. It's all by vibration. It's pretty quiet. Next slide.
they were pleased.
So this picture is taken from the base of the downstream approach where it meets the shore. And in the background, you can see the cover unit that sits next to the downstream approach. So in this photo, I just wanted you to see that they've started to create the pad for where the pipelines will transition to the new pipe bridge. So the pipes will follow on the shore side the same path they used to take. It'll go parallel to the road that headed towards the downstream approach. Initially, they'll go underneath the downstream approach, that roadway, and then they'll come to this area, make a left turn, and transition to the pipe bridge. So as I mentioned, the pile driving could be finished by the end of this week, if not by the middle of next. And really the challenge at this point is the fabrication of these pipelines, the caps. That's where things will be more complicated than where we're at now. The goal is to have the berth back in operation by mid-February. As of today, we're still on schedule to meet that goal. Of course, there's a lot of time, things that have to be accomplished between now and then. I will say our pipes for our new freshwater system actually arrived yesterday as well, so things are starting to appear on the site. I don't think PGE's water line has arrived yet, but it'll be there soon. Hopefully we'll meet that deadline.
For clarification, the downstream approach access road will not be blocked by pipeline, is that correct?
Correct, it'll go under. And if we don't build it, then perhaps future pipelines will just go across, but it's to be determined.
Did you use water lines?
Their water discharge line.
Oh, district. Okay.
Yeah. Any question?
Is Global satisfied with the progress?
I don't know about Boston, but they're doing a good job locally. The people I primarily talk to seem to be pleased with how we're going. And, you know, everyone's working well together. We're having usually meetings, PGE attends. It's interesting. I think PGE is pretty impressed with how quickly CPPR's got things moving forward.
Well, they have great incentive.
They do.
Do we know what their drop dead date is for,
I just know mid-Feb.
but not a specific date?
I've heard the 15th, but I don't know basis when the incident happened, if that's a day or two beyond. Yeah, I don't know when they made their declaration to
Gotcha.
customer.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll discuss now or later. When we can do a pipe bridge discussion. Okay. All right, thank you, Ellie. Sean?
Thanks, Nate.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, too.
Yeah, I've got two of them. Good morning again. Commissioner Sorber, this will talk about Lignetics now. Commissioner Sorber had reached out to Mike Sykes at the Columbia River PUD to inquire about the transformer and had a good discussion. Sounds like next step is for me to get with Mike Sykes and talk about how that would look as far as implementation and installation and work with Lignetics to figure out how we want to cost share that. But I feel like we were all in agreement that we wanted to help where we could, short of covering the entire facility, which didn't seem likely. This could be a good, toe in the water for us to help on the dust issue. This would again apply to them installing the larger hammer mill and some of the associated pieces that go with that. So the next step will be for me and Mike Sykes to get together and probably invite Steve Nelson next door to talk about how that would look and see how quickly we could do something like that. I'm still in the right path with, we wanted to help. We wanted to see where we could help potentially financially. So this is a good step, I believe, for us. Once I meet with Mike and Steve, we can talk about a timeline and I'll report back on that. The other piece is I'll be working with DEQ to see if they would be interested in, encourage them to come to a meeting so we can talk to them about the issue. But I think really what we want to make sure is that they come out and test when the plant's operational. That seems more likely. And in the months that we're most concerned. So,
And the weather's.
yeah, favorable weather. Wind's doing what we're used to them doing in the May through October timeframe. So that'll be our end result is hopefully they can do some testing when it's more applicable timeframe. So more on that and look forward to seeing how the conversation goes with PUD and Steve Nelson. Any questions for? Okay. Do you have any comment on this particular item, Ms. Schollenberger?
No, we're just obviously very interested in the update and how things are moving along. So it sounds like from what you're saying, steps are being taken. We're not quite there yet. So that's good. I was wondering if, and then I won't have to come forward because just a couple of things. If we could perhaps have someone from the division, Dean Scholar or whoever might be willing, and someone from Lugnetics attend a meeting at the community hall where we've been having the meetings with our neighbors who are concerned about this, so that, I mean, from our standpoint, we don't really have anything new to present or report. We're kind of in this period of
Wait and see.
yeah, exactly. Thank you. So I was wondering if we could perhaps get with you to coordinate something in February to give time. We can find out when community is available, when at least, one representative from plant and somebody from the court could come and just answer directly concerns and questions from the community.
Yeah, we'd be happy to. For sure.
And the only other thing that I would note is looking again at the little timeline schedule that Lugnetics had provided for us and said that this was what they would adhere to. There are a couple of things where it looks like the permit should have been received, a bid should have been awarded. And so, I think those are pretty important things to move this along. I don't know if they're still on schedule for these things or not.
I think they would definitely be something they can share in February, if not sooner. So we'll get some information.
The only other thing I think we threw out at the last meeting was potential to move the entry back down to where it used to be at the Trestle Beach entry for all the truck traffic. I don't know if there was any movement or further discussion on that.
I will say that while that is a request, I'm not sure that was something that they were going to implement. So I'm sure that's an operational thing that they need to figure out. If it works.
That would purely be a Lugnetics and not necessarily the port would not have to be involved in that.
I would hate to tell them what to do and not know necessarily how it affects them operationally, but yeah, I think we can explore that for sure. And then it's on their radar because Steve was here, so I'll talk to him and find out what that would mean for them operationally. I like the idea a lot.
I do too.
We get trapped a lot by these trucks that are staging and waiting, and it's kind of.
Yeah, it's a little congested.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed to be beneficial to them too on the surface, unless there's something we're missing.
Yeah. Well, and then like she pointed out last meeting, there was a leak on a truck that made the turn and no one cleaned it up. It just that just sat there. So that's something they need to address.
All right, thank you for continuing to push forward on these things. And again, I think it would be important for you to hear concerns, meet out. Gotta be tired of the same old face showing up from the community and for them to hear what progress is being made from the horse's mouth. So,
Yeah. Well, the community is lucky to have you.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions before we move to the next item? All right, a little update on the sale of the new hangar building. I spoke with Mr. Freeman yesterday, who would be the person writing the check should the sale go through. They have some weather down in his area. He's down in Arkansas area. He planned on coming out at the end of this week because he wants to put eyes on the building and walk it and see it before he writes a check. And I'd sent the lease document over on the 21st of December to Mark Smith. What I believe happened was he knew that the Millionaire folks were going to be out of the office for the remainder of the year, which they confirmed in an email back to me for the holiday. And I believe must be residing at the, I'll call it the corporate level, their lease review. So what Mr. Freeman and I talked about was he knew there was another blast coming his way. He wasn't sure exactly when. At this point, he was going to be coming out, and I need to make sure he understands next week I'll be out Wednesday through Friday. And it, could well align with the second commission meeting if we need to do some action on the lease. So I think hopefully between now and the next meeting, they will come out and take a look and decide whether or not they want to push the button or not. So he sounds like he's interested. He just, like anybody that's going to write a check that big and wants to see what he's signing up for. Wait and see what he thinks. He said it would be either him and or his son coming out. So his son is involved in the family business to some degree. Other than that, that's all on that. Any questions for new hangar potential sale? Question? Thank you. Even dates, looks like.
Yeah.
In front of you should have the proposed draft schedule of meetings for next year.
I'm gonna interrupt you just a second. I was getting texts from some of the locals asking if we know if the hearing is still on at 10, does anybody hear anything different?
No.
Nothing in the email chatter that I see.
Why would they be? Because of the weather?
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, City of St. Helens sent out a notice. They opened 2 hours late, but that's the only notice I heard from many local folks. But I don't see anything on my email here about the hearing being postponed.
I don't know. While we go over the meeting schedule and committee assignments.
So yeah, meeting schedule there, if you're okay with that. The only one I will note is December 25th is when the work session would be scheduled for. I know that most likely wouldn't happen. And we can decide what we want to do with the second meeting later as well for December.
So, yeah, for December.
I would say probably the same thing with the 27th of November, considering it's right before Thanksgiving in the evening.
Yes.
Maybe we look at that.
Yep, that's another one we can talk about too as we get closer, but
Well, I would, do we need to approve this or is this,
yeah, I think we have,
I would move approval of the 2024 commission meeting dates.
Second. Mr. Nick's gonna find this too controversial, so. Been moved by Brian, seconded by Chip to approve the proposed 2024 meeting schedule date. Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any other questions of old business? Actually, we're on new business.
committees there, item B.
And did everybody get a chance to look at that tentative committee assignments.
The only thing I would add is, Robert, I see you're on there for Clatskanie and Rainier Chamber. I would take the Rainier one if you'd like, considering I'm on the board.
I haven't been attending that, so that'd be helpful. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. And let me know when those topics of interest. I like coming to them.
Absolutely.
And I can call each of you individually and see if there's anything that you can tell me now as well. There's some blanks there. We don't need commission representation on all of these that are listed. But as you know, you guys are aware of some of the ones that we definitely have you on. Nancy, we listed you for ENWA, right?
Yes, and for Skeppers.
If there's anything that any of you are passionate about and would love to represent, some of the, the city council meetings, we monitor agendas and see if there's things that affect us. But I'm also due to go around and do updates with each of the cities and your entities too. So just give them a report update on how things are going here.
Maybe each of us on those committees could go with you.
Brian, would you also be interested in Rainier City Council?
Yep.
Is that good with you?
Yeah, and I'll back you up if you're gone or something. I don't mind going, but you're more connected to them.
Yeah, I regularly check in on those regardless, so.
I could potentially attend this Columbia River Steamship Operator Association.
Okay.
That's an interesting one, especially for you.
I notice we have Plattsburgh IPUD on there. Obviously, I attend those, but we don't have Columbia River PUD on there. The weather potentially have that.
Okay. There's a couple of associations. I noticed the American Association of Port Authorities and the Association of Pacific Ports aren't listed on here. Since we are on the topic of committees and organizations, I am going to be making a recommendation on scaling back some of our associations for the purpose of, well, partially due to bang for the buck, but also I would like to direct a little more money towards Columbia Economic Team to match us with city of St. Helens and Scappoose, or get us closer to their numbers. We're currently 5,700 that we do annually to set. And Paul and his team, I mean, you go to these set board meetings, they test their fingers in so many things. I would like to, with your guys' approval, focus a little more money towards CET. I think he's done a lot since he's been there, and we work really well with him. Anyway, I would propose that some of these, the Association of Pacific Ports, for example, is the one that has the Hawaii summer conference, winter conference. While that's a great organization and it's decent for networking, we have other associations that we pay more money to. Pacific Northwest Waterways Association, Northwest Marine. We don't pay more to Northwest Marine Terminal Association, but some of these other ones that are really kind of more nuts and boltsy for us. Elliot represents us at Northwest Marine Terminal Association. That's a really beneficial one. I just, as we look to, be a little more fiscally responsible, maybe trimming back some of these, at least for a while. And, while the net may not be different if we were able to focus a little more money towards CET, it would at least be kind of less travel, there'd be less travel and things. So I'll talk to you guys each one off on that a little bit to see where our temperature is on some of these. And some of them you guys may feel more strongly about than others. So I like your inputs.
And I would like to say, look, the APP, I'd like to defend it, but I agree with you. I think until we had the accident at Port Westward, I was interested in going to see or having somebody go because we're looking to develop Columbia City and we were looking for some ideas in Rainier. But frankly, we're not going to be doing that now for a while. It's going to be a few years, I think, before we get everything nailed down and all. So I think they're a great group for looking at that, some of that barge transportation, some of the stuff they're doing. But like I said, up until October, I was planning on working that really hard, and now I think our priorities have reset.
I'm on the executive committee for the APP, the Association of Pacific Ports, and I am able to zoom in for the executive meeting in January. And I'll do that, and I'll most likely, if you guys are okay, I'll notify them. We may be dropping out for a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, even if we can tend to keep the membership to not traveling to there, that's expensive.
Yeah, definitely adds up.
It makes sense right now.
I have no awareness of what these cost us. I'd like to see, I'd like to get that information.
I have it. Yeah, Guy provided that for me, so I can share with you.
We always get to review those anyway.
Yeah. Okay, I'll be reaching out and talk about committee assignments and association memberships. So,
Sounds good.
thank you.
Miriam. This also probably has been affected by recent events, I think.
Yeah, so resolution 2024-01 is for creating a maintenance facility project for long overdue project. I said the word maintenance triggered a thought, so let's take a quick moment to give a shout out to our maintenance team. Late yesterday after dark, we had pretty bad wind gusts out here, took down branches and trees, quite a tall tree even, into the grassy areas, parking lot, and all along the sidewalk, that branches and trees that were too heavy that I couldn't lift. So our team got out here first thing in the morning, they were out here first thing, the whole entire team cleaned the grass, parking lot, sidewalks, and made it nice and tidy. So your path to the front door was nice and clean and no injuries. So it was great for them to change their schedule, get out here and make it all nice for the public. So shout out to the team.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so on this port project, as you know, we've been working on this, trying to get this building created for a long time. Probably at least 8 years would be safe to say, and we just kind of keep kicking it down the road. So we started this a year ago, got real busy with getting the permitting done, doing the design and engineering and going out to bid. Lower Columbia Engineering has been working on this project for us. We received 6 proposals after going out to bid with an RFP. We also not only looked over those proposals, but did in-person interviews for the first time, I think, in port history. It was very enlightening. The competition was tough. The proposals came in higher than expected, unfortunate, but we had several very qualified proposers on this project, 2 of which have done work for us in the past successfully, have a good reputation for us. After reviewing all the information that we were provided, the port staff selected PHI Construction for this project at a cost of 3.2 and change, with an additional 10% provision for additional costs as the project proceeds. As I said, unfortunately, the cost is above the anticipated project. So just to read a little note here that was provided by council. According to the ORS 279B.100, an RFP may be canceled if the commission determines that it's in the best interest of the port to cancel, and if the port is not liable to any proposer for any loss or expense caused by or resulting from the cancellation. So that is an option if this is the way you decide to go, based on the issues that we are now facing that have had an impact on our budget. Having said that, I still feel the need to advocate for this project. It's only going to get more expensive as we move down the road. We're already a little sticker shock from the market prices today and post-COVID prices. We have to look at the current conditions that the port staff is working in. Our small port shop is tiny. It's congested. The roof is leaking. It's difficult for them to work efficiently in that small shop building. It's overcrowded. We've had to do projects outside and erect temporary cover to do some of our projects, arena and welding and all kinds of things. It's just a continuation of thinking outside the box to get things done that you can't do inside the building that they should be able to do. The job shack themselves is in very poor condition. It's got condensation, it's got mold.
The siding itself is crumbling. You can actually look through and see people's legs. And they have a nice contingency of mice. You open up your desk drawer and there they are. So we do have to think of what we're going to do. I just don't think it's fair for our staff to continue to work in this condition. And we just keep moving it down the road. I understand we have some budgetary issues that we're considering, and that's why you're here to make that decision for us. I think it's a worthy project, and I think it's time that we really have to focus down on what we're going to do about that. I realize that you're trying to be conservative for the things that we're facing now. But if this is a project that is terminated, we do need to look at alternative solutions for our staff.
I'd be curious to hear about some of those alternatives, because obviously this does have a pretty big impact on our budget in a difficult time. Had some preliminary conversations about another option, so I wasn't sure if that had been discussed at all yet.
There's several options, actually.
Understood.
Can I add as well that when I talked with Sean about putting this on the agenda, proposing to terminate, I don't think there's an appetite to terminate it, but it may be such that we need to wait till we have surety that we keep our customer. So what I was proposing, something like have a 90-day continuance, which is against screen bidding process. I'll apologize. I know I can't imagine, but until we get certainty of the revenue is what I had in mind for the commission to discuss. And of course, the other project, the remodel of this would be a lower priority than the shop as well.
Absolutely. Yes.
Shop would take precedent, and as soon as we have enough surety to proceed, we would. It was my thought.
Regardless, they need to be out by November, correct? That's right.
That's right. For the terms of the lease, yeah.
And
Yeah,
have you talked to Burpat?
I've not yet. Want to find out what the decision was here, and also some of the options that we have, and there's just spitballs, is, building a mixed use building that we could actually lease out part of, what we build, as opposed to just making it just for the port. We got some revenue potential there. In the interim, we could potentially move the operation to the Railroad Avenue building, which will be vacated here shortly. That would be a Band-Aid. We can get a new office trailer. We can lease one of those until we determine what we need to do. There's no need for them to still be in a dilapidated building that's mice ridden. But yes, we have some options there. I'm really liking the possibility of a mixed use, but I don't know how that pencils out. It'd be more money than $3.5 million.
But it would be smarter money.
Yeah, right. At least we could have the opportunity to make some money. We could retrofit the three-sided building at Winter Circle potentially, so that they have a dry place to work. There's a few options that we could explore that could get us through until we know more. And then maybe in 3 months we have a better picture and we don't have to consider it, and Burpat's not in a hurry potentially, but find out some of that information. There's a lot of unknowns.
One question I had was, assuming the hangar building sells and we clear that debt, do we have the opportunity to finance a project like a mixed use?
Yeah, that definitely helps our position. Yeah, with that, clear up that loan with Business Oregon and go for another one potentially. So they definitely, I don't believe they would have given us money for a port use only building. There'd probably be some other buckets of money for outside of Business Oregon. We could look at for some of that, but if we have some revenue potential, like, they're going to help us with McNulty, could potentially help us with a mixed use building. So.
Were there parts of the bid that came in? So obviously they were a lot more than expected. Could you tease out what parts of the project, or was it just overall? A lot more.
I'm watching that right now. I'm doing well, thank you. I think I'm doing well. That's Benny. Hello. Benny's a good boy.
Oh, I could take you all day if I could, but I gotta get back to work.
Well, would like it. He'll probably follow you and you won't have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to come with me, that's more than okay, but I gotta get back to my desk.
Who's Debbie?
That'd be.
So to answer your question,
Yes.
it's mostly an overall cost increase in the current challenging market that we're in now. We did go through with, once we determined we were going to use PHI, we did go through negotiations with value engineering areas that we can skeletonize the project, slim it down, and areas that we felt needed to be put into the project, such as a sprinkler system. We were hoping that, which is a big cost, and we were hoping that would not be required. But in order for us to put our vehicles, such as anything over 10,000 pounds, into the port shop, we have to put a sprinkler system in there, which increased the cost over $150,000.
So I want to acknowledge something you said earlier, that the working conditions are not ideal and we need to prioritize that. So I've very much heard that, and I think all of us probably did. I just find it financially prudent to explore all options before we potentially spend $3.5 million in the current situation. That's where kind of I'm at on this. Everybody else.
Well, the only thing I would add to that is spending money on a stopgap that is not permanent makes no sense, because then you're wasting money. So if we need to come up with something that is a stopgap that doesn't cost thousands of dollars in order to implement. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense.
Or a different permanent solution that's more affordable. I don't know.
Right.
I'm curious to just hear all options on this.
Right.
Or if there's a stopgap that leaves us something usable. And if we
In the end.
model something, put them in there temporarily and then are able to lease it or.
But the fact remains that until we know the situation out at Port Westward, yeah, it doesn't make any sense, unfortunately, because then we would really be behind the eight ball. So.
Can I interrupt and ask Elliot? Would you find it reasonable or likely that we would have certainty February, March? We'll know if the marathon contract is still up and running and.
Yes, I'd be surprised if we don't. There's no reason for them to see if we really show their cars now as to whether they have found another alternative for moving that commodity, but they're gonna have to notify CPBR if they're opt out.
Given the rate CPBR is spending right now, it doesn't seem likely that they're aware of that.
So what does the process look like if we want to put it off for a month or month and a half? How does that work with our?
It affects costs. We've already received notice that some of these subcontractors have increased their costs, electricals in particular. So we can expect that to happen, whether it's 30 days, 60, or even 90 days. Some of those subcontractors will be increasing their costs.
Their bids had already expired, just the amount of time it took us to get our decision. So they have to decide if they want to
The bigger issue is that these contractors have been kind enough to wait since October for this decision to be made. They're trying to hold prices. They're also trying to hold subcontractors who need work, and they're going to go off and find other jobs. Our contractors, for example, if we did end up choosing and approving PHI, a contract with them, they have other jobs that they need to determine whether they're going to fill their schedules with. So we have the potential of losing that slot. Let's just term it like that. So we may, the longer we wait, the likelihood of having to rebid and find a contractor who is still available is a concern and likelihood. So I am not looking forward to redoing the RFP process.
No.
It's a lengthy, time-consuming process, especially when you have to put a committee together, do a scoring system, interviews. And might be a question for council on at what point can we just resume a contract with PHI, or we have to go back out and rebid all over again?
I was kind of curious about that, like,
Yeah.
can't we stop 60 days and still move forward?
I have concerns about that approach. So just going back to the dates of these things were mid-October. They were good for 30 days to mid-November for the proposals. We're now in January. I like the approach, this, I guess this resolution is a yes or no on this. Basically, that's the way this is posed to you. So the concern being that if we continue to string someone along, they're putting off other projects based on promises, implied promises, whatever it is, that we could get ourselves in a bit of trouble with that. So, that's the way I see it.
We need to be as transparent as possible. We want to continue to have good working relationships with these contractors, because we may want to work with them in the future. They've been really great to work with and to get through this process, been very professional. So, here we are, and now we have to make this decision, which affects them greatly, all of them.
Do they have any awareness of what position we're in, or is this all going to come as a surprise to them?
We have notified, because of the delay, I just felt it was a need that they were updated and notified so that we can be transparent and they can make their own decision on whether they are capable and have the desire to hold until after today before making the decision to move on to other projects, or wait and see if they still have the availability to hold 60 days for us to determine if we can move forward with the project with the budget. So we let them all know what the situation was to date.
Good.
Yeah. It's a difficult situation to be in for all of us.
So if we all buy a lottery ticket, yeah.
So whether we go out to bid again, or whether we're able to PHI, if they are the approved contractor, if they can hold a slot for us, and then the prices go up, then it adjusts the bid price, or make adjustments after that. I don't know if that's a possibility. I don't know if that's
Marion, when did the RFP go out? When did we issue
the
it?
13th.
We issued it October.
That was the due date when they were.
No, when did we send it out?
September.
My thinking is, we got so much interest because it was a slow time project. They
Right.
thought that if we were going to award in some kind of more timely fashion, they're like, great, we got a project for the slow time. Obviously, all 6 of them weren't going to get the project, one of 6. I have big concerns about the prices potentially going up. And if I was in their shoes, I would want to rebid it just to make sure that we're not, they're not going to lose money on the project. And yeah, they have been really good about, as far as the time it's been taking. I think we have received a couple of public records requests from them. They want to see the other proposals. We're in the process of figuring out what may or may not need to be redacted on some of those before we send those out. We're really wanting to have some, I think, wintertime project.
Sure.
So now that could change if it slides into springtime and
Oh,
they
my
get
gosh.
busy and we've lost out potentially. So
It's a little bit of a balanced, where winter construction usually costs more because you have more walk, more grading, and drainage issues. In spring, summer, construction can be less intense, portable, but the availability is completely unknown because they get busy.
That's every contractor. Busy in
Sure.
the summer and spring, wintertime slow. Yeah, you're gonna get it, right?
Usually your winter savings is eaten up by heating and gravel.
Yeah.
How does the commission feel? Throw this out there, but we're probably going to need to meet the second meeting this month to discuss the hangar sale. Should we put as a main topic on the agenda, all the options on the sport shop building? It kind of feels like stringing these bids out is getting kind of long in the tooth. Is that what you're saying, Bob?
Yes, it's 2 more weeks. Is that okay?
well, do you feel like you might change your mind, I guess, is what I guess I would wonder. I feel like the guide tour I'll call it.
Mhm.
As we came around, I thought we were pretty clear on the picture, but I guess I'm not clear as far as my fear being that the costs are going to go up, but we just don't know that.
So.
Well,
I'm gonna-
the trouble is sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
in 2 weeks, we're not going to have an answer to our global question.
We would maybe have answers on alternatives and whether they're viable or
Yeah,
not.
you're right.
That was,
right.
that's the only thing I was thinking. But I'll be really blunt, or I'd be curious, are you recommending approval or?
I'm not recommending approval. No, I mean, I feel as though we got ourselves in a situation where we had multiple non-revenue producing projects on the budget, and that, I think that falls squarely on me. Really, we've got the marina obligations, you know, those are some more money that we're not going to see a return on. I don't want us not to have a new port shop building. That's not the case at all. I've been over there. I've seen they're trying to work in small areas, and aside from it, you know, hopefully there's not some unsafe working conditions is what I'm hoping. It doesn't sound ideal for sure. And we could get them a new office trailer, you know, next week. You know, we could fix that right away
And where would that go?
in place of the other one. Right now, the office trailer is right outside the port shop building.
We discussed some of this in executive session as well.
Sure.
That's up to you guys. And
Well, I'm looking at the clock.
It would-
And it's like 10 o'clock. I think we need to be someplace else. Yeah.
We do have some people coming here actually that are going to
That's
watch
why I was hoping that we could
hearing.
discuss alternatives at the next meeting, if that works for everybody.
Instead of having the meeting in 2 weeks, can we have the meeting next week?
Does that give us enough time to?
Does that give you enough time to come up with alternatives, or do you need 2 weeks?
No, yeah, we would need more time
Yeah, but
Okay.
just to vet some things out. Because she may be looking at me cross-eyed when I say some things that I don't know where we're necessarily talking.
I did see you shaking your head about an option, and
Council, they said
I mean, that's the sort of feedback I think we all eventually want to understand is what's viable and what's not. So.
Yeah, we've got alternatives in the short term. You know, we've got the mixed use possibility. I could find out some more information on that. I'm sure that's less ideal because, you know, then we're sharing a building with somebody and, yeah, we need to sit down and talk about some alternatives to get us to the point where we're, you know, going to.
Yeah, and I would like to know things like how much time you spend in the shop.
Wintertime a lot, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And, you know, so those are the kind of things I have no idea what their day-to-day working.
There's really room for one vehicle to pull in there to work on, which, you know, it's okay probably sometimes, but in the wintertime, it's probably not ideal because there's multiple things they can be doing. Yeah, it's cramped, you know, if you've seen it, it's a little space.
I definitely don't want them to feel like they're the stepchildren because I think they do.
is there any value to you in the next 2 weeks to have commissioner liaisons to go to kind of get a consensus, narrow down the options? My concern is that there's so many options that putting any time into all of them is going to take too long.
I think we all want to hear it though, Robert.
Yeah, oh no, I agree. I was just thinking if there's narrowing, I don't know if there's a consensus way to get to the meat of it. I agree, Will.
And I think one thing that you kind of led into is I want them to feel supported, like
Yes.
they are a priority. We just have this really, really tough financial situation.
Yes.
I would hate for them to feel otherwise. So a commissioner visit seems like I would sign up for that.
I go with it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So just a reminder that now at 3 months since they submitted the proposals, right now today. So there is a provision in the statute for delay. You just need to find that it's in the best interests of the port to delay it. That's the way you're going to go. But I think what I'm hearing is the price is not going to go down. It's only going to go up,
Right.
you know, at this point. So
Guy had his hand.
I just want to mention our starting the budgeting season for this one.
Guy, can you please come up so you can get on the mic?
Just briefly, we'll be starting the budget process for fiscal year 25 first meeting. It's here this month, just internally. And so, just keeping that in mind when we'll be having to factor in all of our revenue expenses, capital budget projects. And so, we're that close to the budgeting season that, I'm just pointing that out as reference if we want to consider this within the broader scope of our activities, both revenue and expenses on the operational side and on capital budget investments. Because if we do end up proceeding with this project, it's going to impact what we can do going forward in FY 25 and beyond. So
So what I'm hearing is we have two options: delay or don't approve. I mean, we obviously have a third one, but it doesn't seem like anybody's wanting to approve it. Delay seems like a good option.
I'd agree, but I would take council's advice that we're getting towards the end of that ability. If we're gonna delay, we'll probably have to decide to proceed or not with something.
Yes. Seems like decisiveness is really needed right now. And of course, it's a horrible position to be in, but it does seem necessary.
So I heard two things from council. One was that we might get ourselves in trouble by delaying, but we also have the right to do it. And it's in statute. And we may have more information both from a budgetary standpoint and from a Port Westward standpoint by the end of February.
But can we delay that long?
Yeah, that's exactly going to be my
What's the
question.
delay gonna buy us? 2 weeks, month? What are we doing
Right.
here?
Right.
If we have to rebid it, I'd just vote to terminate this one and rebid it, but.
That's the cleaner approach legally, is just take care of that right now, because the thought was that we wouldn't have any answers really in the short term, that it's going to take a little bit longer. Right? I think that was the kind of the idea of it.
Yeah. I guess,
Really.
And it would also depend on the contractor still being willing to do it.
That's just, yeah.
At that point.
I'd much rather have an understanding of, number one, where the contractor sits if we do delay. If we're willing to go through with the contract, but delay it. And number two, what are our alternatives if we don't do this? Those are the two things I want to know.
So if we push it off 2 weeks and have conversations with the contractor, is that?
They're aware of the situation.
also note that, if we were to move forward with the project at some point still in this fiscal year, it's going to spread fiscal years as far as how the expenditure goes too. So
Right.
some now, some then.
Some now, some then. It's not an all at 3.2 all at once.
What I'm feeling is that we need to discuss this in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
unless anybody
Yeah.
raises a fuss. I would ask Guy if he would be available for start the meeting with some financial options, including if we choose a mixed use, is that something that we readily could finance? Assuming the sale of the Port Hangar building, which we won't know by then, but, and if not, if we, over the 2 years or whatever, what's the fiscal impact? We'd ask Elliot to chime in about, where the progress is on the rebuild and I'm very, very nervous about that contract, but I see the rate that Global's spending money as a very positive sign that they're optimistic, so. I just don't want to be like some other local governments that spend themselves into trouble.
Exactly.
I very much agree.
That was,
I could see how it's easy to do that. 2 weeks will.
Yep.
We'll have that on the agenda, and I think before then, Brian will try to meet with the maintenance crew.
and you'll get in touch with the contractor and have
So
a,
my direction then from you all is to contact the contractor and find out what their option is or availability is if we delay 3 months. Is that right?
At least if they still want to continue their bid price.
Yeah.
3 months,
Still
do you
need to
think?
have the maintenance team out of there by November
Right.
1st.
Right.
So
Right.
that option, there will need to be another option.
There's gonna need to be a temporary option no matter what, because that's not getting built.
There's
Approved it today.
There is work that can be done if we were to proceed with this project. We're not going to break ground right away. We have building permitting process, design process with the the engineer, the PEMB, that's the building kit. So that needs to be designed. So there's all this behind the scenes work that can be done if we were to, that can be, well, I'm just saying that it needs to be moved, if, it's hard to put this into words, but
Yeah, I get it.
behind the scenes, we've got this work that can be done before we actually break ground, you know. That would help continue the process if we were to still work with a contractor rather than, you know, maybe we can pay for that. That's done up until we decide, okay, we're not going to do it, you know. If we find out in 3 months that we have to postpone this indefinitely or terminate, then we just pay for the services that have been done up to that point. Rather than waiting altogether and not starting that work or the design work, which causes a huge delay. That might be something to consider that I can talk to the contractor about.
Yeah.
Like that idea.
Out of the box type thinking that I think in 2 weeks, we'd love to hear about.
And then the other thing is, could we get some kind of an agreement or breakdown of what it would be if we did it in stages?
Yeah.
You know, if we couldn't afford to do the project in a linear manner, could we do?
So
it?
this is, yeah. This is a little bit difficult because you have a public contracting process that needs to be concluded in some way or some decision made before you start heading off and doing offshoots of this. You know, remembering that public contracting is all about fairness to all the parties that submitted proposals.
Right.
So we really have to kind of come to a decision on that before we start heading off and kind of half picking one to do something or picking someone else. We'll have to decide and kind of conclude that process.
When I brought that up, I was assuming that we would make a selection with a contractor.
Oh, sure.
Providing
Him
them
too.
willing, do a contract
Right.
and then phase out the work.
That's what,
Design the work to where we can find an ending point in March or whatnot. And then before we proceed on to other work.
yes.
Yeah, the resolution before you is selection of that contractor.
So that would be the selection at the 3.5 of this party. So that's what this is.
Well, I have no issue with the contractor. If you're happy with the contractor, I'm happy with the contractor. It's the way we do the project that is of interest to me.
Yeah, we need more time to work on this. Anything further? On the topic? Yes, have you got the direction you need?
I think
So
so.
we need to relay to the other proposers that we still not chosen yet in another 2 weeks.
And I'm hearing from the commission that it's in the best interest of the port to delay this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
One more. Contractor. Lacey?
This is an easy one.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know if we.
Resolution 24-02, recommend you adopt or authorizing the execution of contract for standby emergency generator project with Northeast Electric in the amount of $342,000, a 10% contingency not to exceed $356,400.
Vote to adopt resolution.
Second.
2402, excuse me.
Yes, it's been moved by Nick and seconded by Nancy to adopt resolution 2024-02, funding for emergency generator work at the Scappoose Airport. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Commissioner comments, Jim,
Been quiet for me the last couple of weeks.
Brian?
Not a lot to add. Been some discussions about some of the topics today. But I will say I missed the port party because the holiday party, I was out of the office and I just wanted to pass along that I really appreciate all the work you guys do, especially recently with all the tough things that have happened. So thank you to staff.
Yeah, port party was excellent. Thanks for the invite. Staff's been doing a great job. And just as we mentioned earlier, kind of inquired to move this lignetic things, keep the ball rolling there with them. So
Yes. Port party was great. What's going on here with our staff is over the top, very commendable, appreciate it a lot. And would like to add that we have moved forward with selecting a person to get in depth about this agricultural committee work. And I believe the contract has been sent to Brenda and has she signed it and returned it?
The back, yep.
And I think she'll plan to come in at the second meeting in January and give us a presentation. Is that correct?
Yeah, seems kind of quick, but yeah,
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
if she wants to slide.
That's fine too.
It's gonna be a busy meeting.
Yeah, I think it's more, isn't it more along the line of what she's doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Not that she's done it, but the whole thing that she's planning on. So really, really so gratified that the work we've been doing with this committee has turned out so well and that we've had such good buy-in from other agencies and other people here in the community. So really hoping that this ends up coming to fruition.
I would just say that the board party, I told my wife the wrong date. She asked me to confirm. I told her I was sure and I was wrong. I hate that.
And you will pay that right
Oh, I
for a long time.
Oh, she questions me on all of them now, but she's right. So I'm sorry I missed it. That would have been fun. The only other thing I have is I want to be sure to declare that while we're working through this Lignetics problem, I am a customer of Lignetics. I didn't even think about declaring anytime soon. I buy quite a bit, well, for me, quite a bit, not for them, but from them. I'm very supportive of the community efforts and all, but I don't want anybody to know that I buy a product from Lignetics and sell it in my business. So just understand that. Doesn't change my view, and I appreciate the efforts, and I hope it works out and it's going well, but didn't want to hide that at all. Anything further to come before the commission?
ED report, but it's provided.
Yeah.
You have it
Any
there.
highlights there that would?
Let's see, Martin Luther King Day, 115 this coming Monday. The office will be closed and I'll be out of the office next Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, taking some vacation. Potential, obviously not potential, the commission work session on the 24th. And anything else on there is there for your reading and you can call me with questions.
Thank you. And we will have, we'll find out when Chris Freeman's attendance date is. It'll probably be before the next meeting. Let appropriate commissioners, let all the commissioners. Yeah, that goes.
Robert, I would also point out, we did list executive session on the agenda, but there will be no executive session today.
Any further business to come before the commission? None, meeting adjourned. Thank you. And just in time.